Not seeing anything show up in your live feed.
I'm gonna try and see if I can get a link to share. Okay, let me see if I have a link here that I'm just gonna paste in Discord. I've sent you one. You tell me if you can see on that.
Okay. Yeah, I've got something here.
Okay.
It's come up. It's weird because on the channel it doesn't.
That's what I'm worried about, because if it doesn't come from the channel, then no one's gonna watch this. Oh man, yeah, it's listed as unlisted. That's what's really weird. Let me. All right, we're live on an unlisted one. We're back to Spaces. We've got it.
Yep. They can see us
now.
on the thing.
All right, I'm just gonna make this public right now. All right, we should be good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
Done saying all my curse words. Oh wait, no, we don't stop that on the channel.
Oh my god. Ian's just gonna die on camera.
Said curse words, not racial slurs. I'm not you.
Exactly.
I'm coming and going a little bit here.
Yeah, is it staying stable on that now?
It's like going. All right, now it is.
Yeah, I think it's because when I was switching the tab off from the Discord call to manage it, it's like turning it off for some reason, which is very strange.
Steve's here, which means people can see us.
Okay,
which means
right.
all is well.
All is well. That was a saga.
Dragon Ball DC, the live stream saga.
Yeah, that's the next one. We're happy to announce. You heard it here, folks, first. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. Do you mind posting an at everyone on the Discord for this?
Yes.
Thank you so
I
much.
do mind. I refuse to do it. How dare you ask me to participate in my idea?
Thank you so much. Okay, I just went off the tab again, so that's why it went black. Alright, no more. I'm not going off the tab ever again. I'm staying on this for the rest of
Don't ever go off the tab.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Dragon Ball DC Q&A stream that's been a very long time from happening. So you are forgiven for forgetting we used to do these. That is entirely on me and just my fault. So, but we're back, we're here, we're alive, we're beautiful men, and we're here to make you have a beautiful day, hopefully, somewhat. If you forget who we are, for example, I'll give us a quick refresher. I am the Geek for Fun. I am one of the writers of Dragon Ball DC and various What If studios, and my co-creator and co-writer and basically everything is Sid Part 2 over here, and he is happy to be here, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm currently dealing with the virus that has plagued the world, but I'm feeling fine. So I just was like, hey Alfie, do something fun to distract me. You were talking about doing a live stream. Let's do that. So a good way to burn an hour or so. Oh man, we're already getting comments.
Oh wow.
My favorite from Y Arc 9 says Goku would not survive in the DC universe. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, probably if he was just like in space, that'd probably kill him.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, he can't breathe. Green Lantern wins. That's just it. Well, I'm at the same time, we've also got like 24 parts of a video that are some are like hours long each that say otherwise. We've got like almost 200 hours of content that says otherwise. So, you know,
is that really like what it all maths out to?
It's gonna be up there. I think we cracked 100 at least.
Oh,
if you include everything that we've done.
Yeah, live streams and everything too. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. Um. Anyway, Doge asked in the chat, "What's the Lego hat today?" So I can show that off. This is my custom DVDC Vegeta versus Kakarot Kent in the black suit. So I put that on the hat today for the stream.
For Saiyan Saga fans out there, I know that one's very, very crude, but it's got its charm to it still. So I know a lot of people really like that.
It's still the best thing ever, and everything's been downhill ever since. Honestly, I watch the videos. You don't. You don't understand.
It's true. He's very much correct. I have a vague memory of this entire series, so I'm great for answering questions about it. The Toriyama experience.
Yeah. Oh, man. What else is going on here? How do you feel about the similarities between y'all's version of Livewire and The Boys storefront? I've not watched like 5 seconds of The Boys, so I have no idea who storefront is. I'm assuming it's storefront.
Yeah.
Storefront seems like a weird word. I don't know. Is like storefront like a Nazi?
Yeah, she is.
Okay, well, so then they copied us.
Yeah.
So there.
They copied us. They did the I'm a Nazi, but she pretends otherwise at first to get like she's got like a big social media following and everything. So like they have that whole thing. So and she's also got lightning powers.
They copied me bar for bar, man. What the fuck?
I know. So
you're my lawyer. What are we gonna sue?
Look, man. All I'm saying is our Livewire versus Cauliflower and Kale fight absolutely slaps on everything from that show. So if you really want to watch a better version of it, that's actually good. Go watch Dragon Ball DC Bombshells because it kicks the hell out of The Boys.
Yeah. Agreed. Just because Bombshells is the best thing ever, and people that didn't like it are wrong.
Surprising concept, making series about superheroes from people who like superheroes.
Lord Pineapple 47. When they used the Lantern Entities to bring everyone back on Earth, did they get to choose? Because if they didn't, wouldn't Raditz and Nappa be brought back? They were brought back. That happened. It's in the video.
Everyone still misses that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be overly shitty with people because there are people watching the latest episode. Spoilers for the latest episode of DBDC, by the way. But there are people watching the latest episodes like, when did Broly meet the Justice League? I'm like, okay. It's just been so long. A lot of people have completely forgotten the details, and that's totally acceptable. So yeah, you can watch the videos. You can ask the questions that everyone's probably going to be tired of if they have been paying attention or if they do remember the videos. But it's totally fair right now. We're not going to be shitty with it. So yeah, they did bring Raditz and Nappa back, and they've just been mysteriously gone ever since.
That's basically it.
Yeah, it's funny. Someone, I'll hype this person up. Let me get their @ in the Discord so I give them proper credit. Radical Holy Diver in our Discord server actually just posted a fanfic story speculating on Raditz and Nappa. They did a thing where Raditz and Nappa are on Earth hanging out with the Doom Patrol as part of our series, and that's not what we're doing with them. I feel like I can say that the thing we're not doing isn't a spoiler, but it was just really interesting to read someone do a whole pretty in-depth short story speculating on what if Raditz was on the Doom Patrol, and it involves Raditz smoking a blunt on the roof with Crazy Jade, and I was kind of here for it.
It's a cool visual. It's definitely a cool visual.
Yeah, it was. So I like that one quite a bit. What else we got here? So when you're going to kill off Goku, are you going to give him the three Superman treatment? How about you answer that one, Alfie? I know Reign of the Superman is your favorite story, especially as of late.
And you know what? Why not adapt it? No one's done it before. It's the only Superman story, aside from his origin. But that would be a fun concept, because the funny thing with Goku is, you could argue at this point he's got more copycat lookalikes than Superman did at the time with how many. So you could fill out that roster pretty easily of just people that look exactly like Goku that just aren't Goku. The problem is we've done all of them, at least the most important ones in Dragon Ball DC already, and I guess that's the closest we're ever gonna get to playing with the idea of like, oh, during like this whole saga, there are like copycat figures of Superman and stuff. Like we had Turles, we had a version of Goku Black. And in previous stuff we had Caulifla as well, and we've got Superboy as well, which fits in with the Connells. Like so we've had many like Goku variants, I guess. And if you have like the Jenny and Laffy's episode, we have like a whole bunch of Goku variants. And then in the
Kakarot who laughs is still the funniest.
Exactly. So I feel that we've trod that ground pretty well. It's a cool concept because I've grown more like less like picky about what ideas you can do, and I feel like maybe it's more ego talking, but I feel like we can make any idea kind of cool, like no matter what it is, even if it's just thing. I think you can make it kind of good. It just depends on if we're interested in telling it, you know. Like a lot of people will suggest what if ideas, and like it'd be harder to make it work, but we could make it work. But then we'd be like, well, there's an idea that we really know we can make work. It's just a little bit more exciting.
Yeah. But that's okay. Very good, very nice, concise argument. However, Reign of the Golden Warriors would speak to. Like, you know what? That's fair. That's a cool title.
I like that. That's a fun one. That's a cool title.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Task Force X with Nappa and Raditz? Question mark. That's an interesting idea too. I think they're too busted to be on Task Force X, but you know, again, Alfie just loves the Suicide Squad so much that.
I mean, that'd be fun because then I could have just Raditz kill everyone. I know they did a storyline at one point where they had like Zod on Task Force X for like a little bit, so like I guess Waller's got some tricks in a hat for getting some powerful ones. But you could do it, but at the same time, it's yet another thing that's like very big in DC right now, is everything DC is Suicide Squad related or Task Force X. Like they just announced a new animated show, Creature Commandos, which is Task Force M, you know, so like everything has to be somewhat tangential to that, and it's just not a concept that personally gets me that interested. Like you can have it maybe as a one shot, or like the Doom Patrol story. That would be a fun like fan fiction to read, but just speaking personally, it's not one that I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah. You're so much more tame on like a public platform, kind of speaking with your actual voice as opposed to like on Discord or Twitter.
I know, it comes
ridiculous.
off completely. This is how I think about everything. It's just with the text filter removing the Britishness. It removes. It removes that.
Sure. We're gonna pretend that's the truth. Steal Goku time. That's a fun idea. I know he means like John Henry Irons being inspired by Goku instead of Superman, but the Steel Goku just reminds me of like the Mario power up, but Goku.
That's cool. Steel Saiyan.
Yeah. What was Kakarot doing in the 90s? What was Kakarot doing in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? In the 90s, he would have been growing up, presumably. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How old is he? Is Kakarot a Gen Z?
We're following the DC like rules of like everyone is perpetually like 10 years ago was probably where it started. So like Kakarot right now is like in his late 20s, like 27 or something. I think we had like a list before. I forgot that it was like he's like in the Android Saga age he is right now, I think.
Yeah, he'd be like a year or two younger than that by this point because of like the way our timelines diverge a bit.
Right.
But yeah, so I guess technically Kakarot Cat was Gen Z. Fuck.
There you go.
I hate it here. How about in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?
He beat them all up and told them to train some more.
There you go. There's the toxic energy. Callum Crane, this is an important one because I think you do it on purpose, but still. Says, with Dragon Ball DC coming to an end, what do you plan to do afterwards?
Again, Dragon Ball DC isn't technically coming to an end. It's more so coming to like a possible like fine point, you know, like we don't have to be, it's like a stopgap basically. It's like, this is the main story that we've been writing from the beginning, kind of has like a very nice conclusion for a lot of things, in case, like, again, everyone's not stupid, everyone knows how long it's been taking out to get these things out. I'm very aware of making promises that I haven't been able to live up to with like release dates and videos and stuff like that, and I know that's not fair to keep dangling that on a chain to a lot of people, so I would rather let people have something where, in case I don't get to continue or anything, they're like, oh, okay, this is a happy way to end it. They feel like it's a complete thing, than being like, oh, no, it's coming soon, and then it never comes. Like, I feel like that's worse for people, at least more maddening, and it makes me feel that I'm continuously breaking people's hearts, which is never a good feeling. But the actual saga isn't technically planned to end here. We've got a entire saga already written out for the next one, and we have plans for, we know what we do if we do keep it going. But in the immediate future, yes, we do have some other projects that are geared up that are going to be coming out in that little break point for Dragon Ball DC, and one of those is Yamoshi, one of those is some other what if videos for other series like Naruto and stuff, and then kind of the sister series that we'll be starting is Superman and Dragon Ball, which is very excited about that one specifically. I think that's one where if you like Dragon Ball DC, you're probably going to find the most kinship with, because it'll be so Dragon Ball focused. Like, it'll probably one where it'll be a more easy transition point for a lot of people.
How strong is Kakarot compared to his canon counterpart? We talk about this a lot, but I guess with the conclusion of the last episode, this is another good time to jump in. With what's your power level?
What's your power level? So like, it's interesting.
Mine's pretty big.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about this because with the Mixel Split episode, Kakarot makes a lot of gains that people don't really quite pay attention to because of the context of it, but it's also meant to just show he's starting to tap into something that's a little bit more conceptual, which is far beyond anything Dragon Ball ever deals with. You're dealing with DC stuff where they start talking about like the meta impact of certain characters and stuff, and we were trying to experiment, like, what would that look like for Goku? Like, if Goku could fire a Kamehameha, that was the concept of a Kamehameha. Like,
yeah,
that
was fucking big to me.
That kind of stuff is obviously far beyond all of Dragon Ball Super, and I don't want to get too much into the finale and stuff like that, but the idea is that Goku Kakarot hasn't quite grasped that specific aspect. He kind of tapped into it a little bit, but he doesn't really know how he did it or what it means or what. But in terms of brass tacks strength, in just Super Saiyan, he'd be around that level of like his initial like Ultra Instinct when he fought Jiren and stuff like that. Like he's able to fight on those high tier end of Super Anime levels now. Like everything that happened in that series, like he gets beaten down by Black Frieza and stuff, but like when we say he fought Jiren, like he fought Jiren. Like, that's not how it goes. But obviously as well, how much of that can he actually use is another question, because if you've paid attention to the last episode, he can't even go Super Saiyan without collapsing on the floor and coughing up in blood. So he's got it inside of him. He's stronger than ever before, but right now with his physical state, he's weaker than ever before.
Yeah. We've got a $2 donation from Yuza Maki.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. It says, will Goku meet God? Can it be the Lucifer Show God?
The Lucifer Show God is funny. That would be really funny.
Yeah, the Allstate dude. We've talked about plans for the future, and the Lucifer comics, or especially the Lucifer Show, have never been part of the discussion. It's funny because I quite like the Lucifer Show. You know, I take it back. They have been part of the discussion because there was a trope that the Lucifer Show did that I really liked that I want to put in the series at some point, which is when these like ultra tough looking dudes like the Angels and stuff just are incredibly soft in a really silly way. It's like when he takes a drink from his brother, it's like, what are you drinking, an appletini? But they're yummy. And it's just like this 6'2" built, jacked black dude, but they're yummy. I want to throw something like that in the series. I want Vegeta to just be like, but I like strawberry ice cream.
Exactly.
But otherwise, no plans for anything related to the Lucifer side of the DC universe or any of that. The like biblical, the presence kind of stuff that's not been talked about now. Where else was I? To be fair, creature commandos were their own thing, says Steve Baxi, putting you in your fucking place, Alfie. If Broly can be handled by a shock collar, I'm pretty sure Raditz and Nappa could be handled by Amanda Waller.
You're talking about a bit of a different scale there. Like, Amanda Waller is resourceful, and she's very dangerous. But Lex Luthor is Lex Luthor. Like, that's a different kind of scale. You're talking there in terms of genius. If there are other DC characters who are on that intellect tier, your Riddlers, your Mr. Terrifics, Bruce Wayne on a really good day. like there are other comparable figures. But Amanda Waller and her team, they're more so making the best of a bad situation. So it's not impossible. If you've been reading the new DC event with like absolute power, like she has the help of the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, and she like takes everyone's powers away. So she can get some heavy hits, but even then that's with help. That's with assistance from a different type of figure. So she'd have to recruit a more intelligent DC character to get that kind of power, to control an apocalypse Saiyan.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to add another anime character in BDC, who would it be? Like, I'm assuming they mean anime, like, specific to Dragon Ball.
I'm gonna assess that they might be asking, like, anime in general. We could do both.
Yeah, I kind of want to just... I would put Ariel, just because... Arale, whatever it is. Just because that'd be so fucking funny, and I love that episode of Super, so I just would want to do the DC version of that.
I like that.
Yeah, but if it was just to be specifically another Dragon Ball character, I know Alfie's answer, so I won't steal it, but it would probably be just Beerus. I remember I had a joke about putting Beerus in DBDC at one point, and it was actually went kind of hard, but it just would be too far to break the premise, and we didn't want to do it. But just Beerus in DC, just in general, would go fucking bananas.
Yeah.
So I like that idea a lot.
That's a really good one.
What's yours? What are your general anime and your Dragon Ball specific?
For general anime, let's just say that Ippo from Hajime no Ippo trains at Kakarot's dojo. He's just there. Like, he doesn't break any canon or anything. He's just there. He's just learning some more moves. And then for Dragon Ball character, because he stole Beerus,
what Dragon Ball character do you desperately want to be in the DC universe?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it was like specifically for DBDC or just DC in general, because there's two different answers.
I assumed you were gonna say Frieza, because I know you'd like give Frieza to Superman agenda.
I would say Frieza if it was regular DC, but if it's DBDC and it's Goku, I don't want to. You just repeat a lot of dynamics at that point. I'll probably say Piccolo, because the Namekians in DC would be cool, and like Piccolo is just like a cool character to have around, and I feel like adding to the DC cosmology like that, like having like Lord Slug on like War World or whatever the hell, like, and then finding a way for like the Namekian Dragon Balls becoming like these sought after items that like maybe the Guardians of Oa are like hyper aware of that, of like what Green Lantern Nail becomes the Green Lantern of like Namek would be fun, like stuff like that. You could do cool stuff with. So I'll say Piccolo, and like by extension like the Namekian people.
Yeah. Okay. I got another $5 donation from Uzumaki7.
Oh, thank you.
I hope for MUI some connection to the Angels like in DBS. DC has heavy hitters and hope for Broly to be saved. You broke me when Broly was Doomsday. Dude, we broke ourselves.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Like, it was one of those things where just an initial, like, brainstorming the plotting of it, it was like, oh man, that's gonna be so cool. Yeah, let's do that. And we're just gonna lie to everyone and say, no, we're not gonna do that. But of course we're gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's like, you know, it's easy to say it and it's easy to have the idea, but it's a lot harder once you then have to make it work. You have to justify it. And so I remember when we were writing the scene in the Super Saiyan saga where Broly like frees himself from his father's control and like he's gonna go off on his own and everything. Broly has the line like, I won't be controlled by anyone ever again. And we knew what we were going to do with him by that point, and it just made it all the more heartbreaking. It's like, where's that freaking, was it Ennis? The joke about Ennis where it's like, you're able to make the Teen Titans do drugs.
Yeah.
And writing it. Oh, these poor kids. They don't even want to be here.
They're just kids. They don't want to be. Like, yeah. It's very much just that.
It's 100% that.
Broly's just a good boy. He doesn't deserve us and what we put him through.
Yeah, like if so bad. Another $2 donation. Same person. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're really going all out on this.
Will the fusion dance exist? Will Janemba exist? No and no. That's an easy one. The fusion dance is a Dragon Ball World specific technique. Janemba is a Dragon Ball World character. We lied. I enjoy lying. I enjoy gaslighting you guys so much. We lied for so long about, no, Cell's not going to be here. No, Frieza's not going to be here. And then I, like, doubled down on the line. I'm like, no, actually, they're going to come. Don't worry. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then fucking they did.
Yeah.
And that felt really good to get the Pixel Split episode and put those characters in there. But that was, like, the exception to prove the rule. That was the like, feather in the cap kind of celebration moment of the series. So there's no plans on any other Dragon Ball characters appearing again. So Janemba is a no.
Because again, a lot of the coolest ideas here and the funnest parts of it are getting to use DC characters in a new way that they'll never be able to do in the comics, because try as they might to put more manga influence into it, you're not gonna replicate actual Goku, actual Vegeta. Like, those characters are so specifically who they are, and they change so much by just their presence existing. You can create whole new dynamics, whole new stories using existing people in bigger roles and stuff like this. Like, we've given Steve Trevor more stuff to do with Vegeta and his argument that he's never had. He's never been in that position before he's had a rival for Diana kind of thing. So, like, stuff like that is what we're more interested in. Like, yes, these characters are cool, and we could use them in other what-ifs in the future with other Dragon Ball what-ifs, but for just DBDC, it's the DC part of it that is the appeal.
Weirdo7D8 to harp on that says, I don't trust any of you anymore. I have to assume you're lying about everything. And that's good. That's what you should do. Like, as much fun as these Q&As are, and there's like some questions that we can answer like super openly and honestly, particularly when it's about stuff that's already happened, you just, as a consumer of media, you shouldn't trust what the writer or creator behind it says. Even like, especially about what's going to happen, but also just even about like analyzing the meaning or the intention behind things that already did. You should at least be very dubious, because once it's out there, it's out there. It doesn't really matter what the writer had to say anymore, because the person explaining it to you is not the same person that wrote it anymore. Like, it, you know, people change, people evolve, people change their minds, and once the piece is out there, that's the piece. So I would encourage you not to believe me. That's good. That's how you become media literate.
Yeah.
Well, George R.R. Martin said this. Well, I don't care what George R.R. Martin said 20 years after he wrote the first fucking book. It's been too long. That's not the same dude anymore. Do you have any plans for more what ifs outside of DBDC and DB Superman?
Yeah.
Like Alfie said, Naruto is something he wants to do. We've thrown around other ideas. I really do want to get back into writing some more one-off stuff. I've still got like a cool idea that's kicking around my head for Predator in Dragon Ball Part 2. But I haven't quite figured out how I want to thread the needle on that, and I've got 2 children to worry about right now, so it's kind of been in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff like that I would like to do still. And, channel's not going anywhere anytime soon from what I can tell, so
yeah,
it'll happen eventually.
We'll get to everything at some point. It's just as wow, the better the channel does, the more time I can spend on specifically just that, and I don't have to spread attention around. But at the same time, the channel won't do better until I spend more attention on it. So it's kind of like a monkey's paw situation. But we'll get to all the ideas. There's no points of having regrets or everything. If everyone was around when we had that whole scare with the channel hacking, that was like a big moment. It's like, am I just gonna have to lose everything kind of thing? But getting past that and getting back to everything is like, okay, no, we're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. So it's a good trajectory right now.
Yeah, another $5 donation from Uzmaki7. He asked, "Are donations required to get a question answered?" And I was like, "No, not at all. But they're appreciated." And he's like,
I
"Okay."
appreciate it. Yeah, it's very nice. You don't have to do the donations, but everything we say appreciates it. But you just want to ask a question, feel free. We try to get to everyone.
Yeah, but I definitely want to make sure we cover him. Goku knows how babies are made. Does that mean Goten might be possible with Shiva? Go 410. That is a definitive no. Again, you're asking about stuff that's down the line. They just talked about, don't trust me, don't believe me, don't listen to a word I say because I'm a liar. But we've talked very seriously about the like nature of the relationship between Shiva and Kakarot, and it is a thing. They have done the Beast with Two Backs, but it is not going to be that type of relationship. They are not going to have kids together. They are not married. Not that you have to be married to have a kid, but still, we felt that would box Shiva in too much and turn her into what unfortunately a lot of the female characters in Dragon Ball became, which was just baby factories. Love or hate Dragon Ball, that is a very valid criticism of the female leads in that series, unfortunately. So that is something we wanted to desperately avoid. So no, Shiva will not be bringing Goten into the world. But again, maybe you shouldn't believe me, but I'm telling you that's not going to happen. But maybe you shouldn't believe me. This is what gaslighting feels.
Yeah. Another thing as well for people, like if you're looking for a child that's the child of Lady Shiva and Kakarot, and it's a sibling to Gohan, well, I've got great news for you. We've got a character in the series that fills just that box called Cassandra Kane. It's Cassandra Kakarot.
Yeah, it's kind of worth saying. Shiva kind of did the mom thing, and she was not a fan, and did not seem to embrace it very much. So that poor theoretical Goten. I'd hate to think about like putting a child through that a second time. Poor Cass.
Yeah.
Keep talking. $5 donation. If Vegeta switched places with Kakarot and DBDC, how would that go? Like, what fighter would humble Vegeta? Man, Kid doing Psy on DBDC has been an idea that has like entered my mind, but it's just Kid Vegeta is such a fucking problem for that era of TC Earth. There's like no one established yet at the same timeline, and he's just gonna be a bad person. I don't know. What do you think of that one? Could anyone humble Vegeta in that era of DC?
I guess the best thing you would do right is you make that like a Justice Society story, where this kid lands on Earth and all these retired heroes are like waiting for the next era to come, right? They have this like, there was this theory that Morrison was throwing around a while ago where they were like, oh, maybe Superman's like prophesized and like the JSA are aware of it and they're gonna like help his era begin kind of thing. And so maybe they're aware that Dr. Fate's like a great change is coming. And instead of it being like a hero, it's the biggest enemy they've ever faced, and it's a child who could turn into a giant monkey and keep his senses. And so the Justice Society will have to band together, and they have to take out Vegeta, and then they maybe find out that, oh, this kid is like a kid, like we're not gonna kill him, like what do we do with him? And so that you have a Vegeta, which maybe a similar scenario that happens when he's older, where he's imprisoned by Wonder Woman, where maybe the JSA become his guardians, and you've got like Dr. Fate and Jay Garrick and Ted Grant trying to like fix him out and get him to not be such a little shit, but they're gonna have a really hard time with that because Vegeta's gonna be a little shit and he's very ingrained. But in Kakarot's position, because he doesn't have the Darkseid, he's basically just gonna be canon Vegeta, who is a lot easier to turn, at least to point towards a direction for fun, and he'll play along with the fun. And like, if you can find a way where if you have enough threats that start popping up slowly over time, the issue just becomes everyone's so young. It's like it's you kind of have to wait a little bit. Like a lot of modern DC stories will be like, there used to be superheroes in the past, then it was normal for like 50 years, and then Superman and Batman turned up and now everything's crazy again. But like, until you get to that crazy again point, it's just like the regular world for a long period. So like, if Vegeta in that is just gonna sweep. But I'd probably say Justice Society, you could probably do some cool stories with them. And then by the time Vegeta gets old enough, more heroes will start popping up, and maybe by then he'll have enough of an influence from some of those older characters where he might not be as bad.
Yeah. Magnetic says, I know this won't happen, but a cool concept I want to see from this story is Red Moon, the Red Sun version of this universe. That's something we had discussed in the past. It's not something we're going to do any video stuff on or anything, but someone on the channel or on the Discord did actually do some art for it, because I just kind of liked the concept of, instead of putting Kakarot in the Soviet Union, you put him in communist China. As the landing point instead of Kansas, because it just makes more sense. Kakarot, or Goku in general, is just a very Chinese influenced character, so I thought like that cultural shift, that cultural dynamic would work really well for him. So there is actually some art of the Red Sun, Red Moon is actually probably a better title, I'll give you that. Red Moon version, which is funny because there is actually times where the moon will be red. Red Moon version of Kakarot, there's been art for it. It's not the greatest art in the world or anything, but it was fun to see. I like the concept, if nothing else. Let's see here. Ever played with the idea of Doomsday being in the actual Doom Saga? Well, let me tell you, who hasn't watched the latest episode?
Boy, you're for a good time.
Yeah. Just happy feelings all around.
There you go.
Jake Smith, my only question is Monkey Prince is ever going to make an appearance in this? That is such a funny fucking thing to have happened, because it, like, I believe it started and finished.
Yeah.
Within the time that, like, between it started after we'd already plotted everything out, and I think the whole run has finished, and I don't think anyone's touching the character again, in the time that like the show was on hiatus. I think Monkey Prince is done. I'm not really sure. I haven't like read it, but I just remember seeing when it got announced that got posted in our Discord, and everyone was like, "They're stealing from us." Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I don't really know like lore wise how it works, because in our version of or our universe, right? So Kakarot has the cloud and he has the power pole, but they're not the ones from Dragon Ball. They're the actual artifacts of Sun Wukong, because in DC, all myth, all creatures are real. All myth is fact. So Sun Wukong was actually riding around on a cloud thousands of years ago. And so Kakarot has those items. And with Monkey Prince, I'm assuming it's the same story. So like just fucking multiple power poles running around. Like just on a logistics level, that's gonna be really complicated to try to think about.
I'll look into it, because I still have to read that. Once I've read it, I might see if I can do something fun with that as just like maybe like a DVDC Legends or something like that, just because I do like the idea of playing with, like, if they made an actual DC superhero Wukong, like, it is kind of, you should kind of address it, but I don't want to do that without actually reading the material.
Well, it's really funny because, again, on Discord, working with our buddy Trip from the Discord, he suggested an idea for a short story, and I really loved it, so I ran with it. So you can find it linked somewhere on the Discord. You can go to my DeviantArt page, or I've linked it. Scroll through community posts, you probably find it on the Geeks for Fun channel. Excuse me. Did a story of Kakarot Kent meeting son Wukong, to address the whole thing about the cloud and the pole and stuff. So that's ground that has been covered, to some degree or another. So there's an extra wrinkle for it, because again, I think that came out before Monkey Prince was a thing. So if you read Monkey Prince and you want to integrate him in, you then have to add that on top of it. I'm going to hold you to it, because I like that story quite a bit.
You've heard of free Jokers. Welcome to free Wukongs. We call them Monkey See, Monkey Do, Monkey...
Okay, if you were going to do that, like, I've already got the best idea for the cover for it, right? Mm-hmm. You get Wukong, Monkey Prince, and Kakarot, and you have them do that.
Yeah, you did, yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing. You'd have to do that. That's the only cover you could do.
Was there any plot point that was supposed to go one way, but it ended up going a whole different way that you didn't expect? I'll let Alfie think on that too, because the one that comes to mind for me right away was in the initial brainstorm document of Doom. We talked about the idea that Gohan was supposed to be spying on Kakarot for Lex, and we just decided that wasn't necessary and it didn't really work, and we dropped that entirely. But I don't think that's quite answering your question. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything?
It's tough off the top of my head because it's been a lot of years since a lot of this planning, so it's very distant for me. But I do remember, I think there was like a lot of points in terms of when and who would make him get Super Saiyan before I settled on, because Rogozar was a very recent character when I get that, and like when we were doing the Saiyan Saga and stuff like that, it definitely wasn't Rogozar in mind in terms of like how it was gonna go, and like the mechanics of how that would be. Like I'm not sure like we even settled on it was Batman that was gonna die until like during the Entity Saga. I don't think we had that from the beginning, if I recall.
I think it was when we were plotting the Entity Saga, we were deciding that. Oh, I remember this one. There was a discussion of Batman versus Rogozar and like that whole side of things, and you're like, no, what if Batman just throws a ki blast? And I'm like, no, that's not in his character to do. I'm sorry, just no. Keep talking. $2 donation, thank you.
Thank you.
Is Yamoshi in the God Sphere in DBDC? How do you want to address the way Yamoshi fits in with Dragon Ball DC?
So Yamoshi, just to talk about like brass tacks, is gonna be canon to DBDC, but not in the way where it's like exclusive to DBDC. Is if you go to where we've talked about in the past about like when Dragon Ball C's plot starts, is it's not a swap between planets that happen from the beginning. Is there is a very specific point in time where planet Vegeta, the planet and all of its inhabitants, swapped with planet Krypton and all of its inhabitants between the DC universe and the Dragon Ball main universe. So prior to that swap, all their histories are the same, and that means planet Sadala, before it exploded, was still in the Dragon Ball universe. Like everything about that is still the same. So the events of Yamoshi take place on planet Sadala prior to all of this. So the Saiyans that land on planet Vegeta are the Saiyans that have been through the events of Yamoshi. So they have that history, they have those legends, they have that bloodline, etc., etc. But It's not exclusive to Dragon Ball DC. It's just in the same way that on Krypton, the legends of Rao would still exist prior to the swap, and like other planets may have heard of like Rao and like Krypton's gods. It would be the same thing with the DC universe in Dragon Ball with Yamoshi and that saga.
What can you say about Superman and Dragon Ball? Is his food-based pun name going to be Mishi because of Superman vs. Mishi manga?
That would be cute. We debated a long time of what to actually call him for name, and we kind of decided on something that was like a course correction from a regret we had when writing Dragon Ball DC, and we just went with Clark Kent. Like it's written like Karaku Kenta, like or something, but we just gone with Son Karak, Son Clark. You just say it like Son Clark, like you would with any like Superman thing. It's just Clark, simply because if we found a different name for him, he kind of has a little bit of distance from being Superman in Dragon Ball, and it's more fun when you can have the characters in Dragon Ball say, "Hey Clark, stop that!" Like it's more of like a fun. And we, in retrospect, when we went with Kakarot and we had that period where he was named Clark in the earlier Dragon Ball DC, it would have been a lot cooler if we could have had Batman to say, "Hey Goku," you know, like just if we could have had those name drops by those DC characters with our VAs. So because of that, I did put a lot of thought into the name. It's not just copy paste, but it is eventually, it's still the same. Clark, Son Clark is going to be his name, and we're going to go for that. We'll still have Kal-El as like his original name and stuff. So just for the sake of avoiding confusion, avoiding in the comments if people type in like, who's this character, like people know they're talking about Clark, they're talking about Superman.
Yeah. People's Bro BS JSO says, are you going an SS4 route, God route, or both? Again, asking questions about what might come. Expect no solid answers.
We're actually gonna go, if you've ever seen Dragon Ball Absalom.
Yeah, we've got our new forms. We've got our own version of SS4 that one of the artists in the community has been hyping up. Really, this whole time it's actually been for DBDC.
Exactly. So he's gonna have a cloud, and he's gonna beat the hell out of Broly. There you
go. Oh my god, this is such a funny super chat. Following that, Retro Skeleton 499, thank you so much. Says, are we ever going to see a different Saiyan transformation introduced in DC? Or since SS2 seems like the only next step for Goku or Gohan, a different Saiyan transformation? Just after talking about that, it's such a funny one. The idea of an original transformation is really cool, but I think I'd only want to do something like that in a Dragon Ball What If. I don't think it wouldn't feel as good to do an original transformation within the context of DBDC, because part of the fun is getting to see the characters and their forms and whatnot. Though that being said, we've done some original moves in DBDC, so you know, possibly one day, maybe, but there's no plans for it, and I just don't think that's something we want to do for.
There's a lot of other cooler forms that we haven't even touched. There's a lot of Dragon Ball forms, so like I don't think we're gonna have to be worried about running out anytime soon, where we have to start making our. But I agree with Ian. I would like to do an original Dragon Ball form in a Dragon Ball specific What If. I think would be fun to have, like the Geeks for Fun form would be really cool, but not in DBDC.
Yeah. Okay, they've slowed down on the questions a little bit, so we can actually go back up for a second here. Let's see if I can get someone that I missed way back when. Do you plan on doing an Injustice version of DBDC? Says Yoshi X.
I mean, we've had many memes about an Injustice version of Dragon Ball DC, and like there was a planned April Fool's that just didn't go through. That was gonna go down for an Injustice version of Dragon Ball DC. So maybe we'll drop that again at some point just for fun. But for anyone hoping for a serious take on an Injustice Dragon Ball Z, you're going to be disappointed because we don't like that story. But we may see a joke about it here or there. Injustice seems to have died down in popularity though right now. I don't see as many people talking about it, so maybe we kind of missed the boat on that one.
Jake Smith, random thought: Dragon Ball Online Legends or Heroes content could be DB's equivalent of Clark's Legion of Superheroes adventures. It's a fun idea.
I like the idea. The idea of the time patrol is something that I think would be a lot of fun to explore, because it's really only ever touched on in the games, but it's a Toriyama idea, and I do think the concept of it is fun to do in Dragon Ball. So I think that exploring the time patrol and like Krona and Toa and Mira and stuff would be something to do in Super Dragon Ball is like a possibility. It's fun.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised by the number of people not commenting about the latest episode. I did kind of expect that we'd get more like, "What? How did this happen? What's going on with this?"
Do we have any questions about that, y'all? Like, if you've got anything about the episode you want to ask us directly, that'd be a good time to do it.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep track. We actually have lost a lot of comments, or like just gotten past them. Are there any other franchises or even specific what-ifs that have been talked about but haven't gotten past the pre-production stage? Like everything.
Tons.
So much.
Too much.
Keep talking. Do you have a defined list of martial arts Kakarot knows other than Kung Fu, or is it just nebulous martial arts? Specifically, he's a boxer. First out of everything that he learns to box first. But then, yeah, he kind of just goes around and learns, like, everybody in DC knows how to master every single martial art. It's just a really silly trope when you think about it, but here we are.
If you look on Batman's Wikipedia page for every listed martial art he has said he knows in DC canon, apply all of those to Goku, plus all the ones that aren't listed. But and again, Goku is, and he's been this way since Dragon Ball, he's a copycat. He's a thief. He will steal anything that he likes to look at and say, "Oh, I'll have a bit of that. Oh, I'll integrate that into this. Oh, I'll take some of this."
That's the most British thing you've ever said.
There you go. So,
I'll have a bit of that.
I'll have a bit of that. The States haven't converted me yet. I'm still keeping it going. But Goku and Kakarot alike have their own very specific style that takes as their favorite parts, not necessarily the best parts, but their favorite parts of every other style they've come across, and just ideas they have on their own. They are an innovator, then they are a fighting genius. So there are some things that Kakarot will do that no martial arts would ever teach you, but they work for him for his specific body and his specific traits and talents.
Magnetic asked a Doom-related episode question, and Mary Anderson right above him. How long has Broly been on Earth, and so how did Broly come under Luther's control, or is it a mystery for the next episode? I don't think it's too spoilery to say the next episode will open with a flashback like the previous one did that will show you that. That is the literal first minute of the next episode whenever that gets posted in 2027, and that will show you the events of Broly. Obviously, it's something, because we wanted that big reveal. It's something we couldn't show in the past, but I think I saw another one of when did he, or how long has he been on Earth? This is set shortly after he and Kakarot parted ways in the Super Saiyan saga. Broly basically did come straight to Earth, and you'll see what happened after that in the next episode. People's Boast shows $2 donation. Is Vegeta gonna be single the entire time? Oh man, that would suck, wouldn't it?
So you see, Dragon Ball DC is the true story behind it all. Is the Virgin versus Chadmin, but with Goku and Vegeta.
Since the Dragon Ball world doesn't really have separate identities for the most part, and Superman is a character that tries to connect with both sides, how do you plan to tackle that in Superman and DB?
In a really cool way.
Yeah, good job. Not a question, just want to say I'm excited for the series, love the series so far. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Will Wonder Woman get a run back on Broly? I'm never not on that Wonder Woman agenda, says Doge.
I mean, she got back up and she was on her feet, but she's shaken. But I don't think it's a spoiler to say that yes, she's going right back into fight because she's fucking Wonder Woman, and she will not go down without a fight.
Yep. Has Broly been physically or genetically modified? Okay, this is a good time to talk about this. Because it's been set up in the series, and you'll get more of this information in the next episode, but it is pretty obvious just from the reveal in the end of the episode that something has gone on with Broly, that like he's not doing this of his own free will. So instead of just spelling out the thing, I'm gonna increase the view counts on videos, and I'm gonna tell everyone to go watch the episode where Kakarot, Cass, and Gohan go to the White House again. And in particular, I'm going to tell you to pay attention to Solomon Grundy in that episode. So that's going to be my answer for, is Broly physically or genetically modified? Retro Skeleton is asking the power scaling thing. Kakarot is about on the same level with end of Super Anime Goku, if he can access all his power.
Yes.
I never considered Lex being the Piccolo equivalent, but does this mean that both Goku and Lex aren't 100% right or wrong about what Gohan needs? That's an interesting one.
That is an interesting question. Obviously, Lex Luthor as a parent is a lot more toxic and a lot more of a problem in terms of like actual morals. So if you were talking about like who would he go with, like Kakarot isn't necessarily much better with his own agendas and morals. Like again, Goku is a character, and even our version of Kakarot is extremely good-hearted, extremely good-natured, and we're not people who subscribe to the whole Goku is a bad dad like thing. Like it's more complicated than that. But that also doesn't mean he's the best dad or the best father. Like a lot of flaws, and just like in mainline, Kakarot doesn't really understand Gohan that well. He doesn't quite understand a lot of his choices, whereas Lex Luthor doesn't understand him either, but I think you can make the argument that he understands him a little better than Kakarot does. Now, him using that understanding to the best results for the child is maybe debatable, but it depends on your view. I think the key is that Gohan here is kind of stuck between two choices that have no easy answers. That although we know Kakarot is a better person than Lex Luthor clearly, doesn't necessarily mean that he set Gohan up for the best like setup for him, especially for how he is and how he came about. So that's a struggle that Gohan's gonna have to deal with in the next episode, and possibly beyond that. But as a character, bye, I do think there is more of an argument to be made for Kakarot's side, just the spiritual, the understanding of finding peace for yourself, and that seemed to work for Cassandra quite well. But depending on if you think that Lex Luthor was being honest when he told Gohan that he loved him and that he put all those faith into him, we could tell you our thoughts on that, but like Ian said at the front of this episode, it doesn't really matter. It's your opinion on that is what's going to dictate how you view the story.
Mm-hmm. This is a good one because it's just one of those like kind of unfortunate circumstances where we don't really have the time to go back over everyone. Axel Magnus says, is Mogo isolated from Earth post Poison Ivy event? Just noticed that he no longer had a role post that event. It's just unfortunately we've not been on the farm and had like a chance for Mogo to really do anything because of the format of our series. Mogo recovered just the same as everyone else in the tree context. Is just timing and the way the events work. We really haven't had a need for Mogo to talk to show you that they're okay, but they are.
Yeah.
Geek once said that when you put a figure like Superman in a shonen like Dragon Ball, you get something new. Is there any kind of elaboration you can give us on what you meant?
Yeah, so Dragon Ball if you boil it down from beginning to end, from OG Dragon Ball to Super to GT to everything, is basically the story of some not so good people that are the best solution to the problem that they have, which sometimes they cause. Like, it is a series about misfits. It's a series about people who should not belong together. It's a series about selfish people. It's a series about people who become better versions of themselves than they were the day before, but still never lose that kind of impulsive, I may ruin everything on a whim energy. And it's a very beloved series because of that, but it's a very engaging and interesting series because of that. But they don't have a lot of straight hero characters. The only ones you can really give that are like morally kind of like solid would be your characters like Future Trunks, and even then he's got a little bit here and there when he makes some dicey decisions. And then you've got sort of a character like a Dragon Ball Super with Meros, who is probably the closest we've ever gotten to someone who is just a straight good person. And even then, they've got a little bit of their own agenda and their own bias. So the biggest change would be is when you improve someone like Superman, who, despite the different versions, consistently is always kind of a moral bastion, is a figure who knows what right and wrong is, almost as a superpower, and will always pick the right decision depending on like what the right decision is to be that right decision. So there's no Dragon Ball character like that, and so many Dragon Ball scenarios and situations are predicated on the fact that there's no one like that making those calls, especially with someone with the power to act on them. So you introduce a Superman-like figure, it kind of warps the entire series around that, because a lot of the things that Goku does and Vegeta does and gets moraled and pushed for that just don't go that way with a figure like Superman.
I like this one because it's just very funny. Doge, will Gohan have Lex's baldness?
That's really funny.
Gohan goes beast, but you can't tell because he's bald.
He's bald. Like, if you want to talk about original forms, have you ever heard of Gohan Blanca? That image exists, and we're happy to announce that when Gohan grows up in DBDC, he will achieve that.
Anime Master, is DC Super Saiyan a 50 times boost like in canon? Yes. The things like that have not changed.
Yeah, it's the same.
The Ozaru is still 10 times, blah, 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 blah.
It's just that base forms are so strong. They get stronger. Like, it's how it works in everything Dragon Ball.
Yep. The big change is the way that, like, they just discovered Zenkai hacking a lot sooner, basically. Out of kind of necessity based on how much, like, there's that joke about that was going around recently where like Dragon Ball fans were having trouble accepting that Kaba could solo all of Dragon Ball Z, like Boo, Cell, blah blah blah, but yet they had no problem with the fact that like the random Frieza grunt could solo all of Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that in DC, like the random, like your Metallo or your Atomic Skull could kind of solo most of Dragon Ball and quite a ways into Z. So it's just they had to climb a whole lot faster, but they still had the potential to do it. So their bodies kind of unlocked it sooner, which is just the hack. I was thinking about this. This isn't really related to anything specifically, but I was thinking about this the other day, and I decided what Broly's mutation is specific to Saiyan biology, because we've heard Vegeta and Goku talk about it and stuff. It just, more specifically Vegeta, that a Saiyan gets stronger as they fight.
Yes.
Like literally throughout the fight, a Saiyan gets stronger, and I realized, thinking about that, that's what Broly's mutation is whatever gene lets them do that is just fucking broken and cranked up to 11 with Broly. He's just doing that, but on a unbelievable scale. Is Cassandra stronger than normal humans by like Krillin or Tien standards now? That's an interesting one.
It's tough because you're talking about like, is she going to fight them, or is she going to have like a who can blow up more competition? Because obviously I think Tien and Krillin, like, with their arsenal, they can destroy, like, depending on where you take it in the series, it can be for anywhere from like continents to planets to higher than that, right? Depending on the version. She's obviously not doing that. She can't like punch something and then the whole building would probably go, but like everything else. But in terms of could she beat them in a fight, there are plenty of panels of Cassandra Cain and Lady Shiva taking out Kryptonians with their random martial arts knowledge. So you could say from a hack's perspective, if they're not really taking it too seriously because they don't sense that big of a key difference in Cassandra, she could probably get the jump on Krillin. Like, she could probably take him out just because you wouldn't be expecting it with how that level of fights goes. It depends on a lot of different factors, so I'm not going to just say in a straight 9 out of 10 fights, but I'm going to say she has the potential to do so. If that fucking bee from Superhero can take Krillin out in the manga, then yeah, Cassandra Cain with Kakarot traded, I'd give her a fair shot with a Nerf punch or something, right?
Right. Ash is here. So Kryptonians still exist in this DC multiverse, whilst the Saiyans are, as seen in the Bombshells saga. So was this decision intentional by the being who allegedly swapped the races, or just an oversight? This is an interesting one that, like, it drove me crazy when people said that Bombshells is like a filler arc, or it doesn't actually matter, it's not part of the main story, blah 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 blah. Actually felt insulted by that, because this is probably the biggest reveal in all of DBDC from like the wider cosmic side of things. So what the logic of it is that the mainline planet Krypton was swapped, right? But when you make a change to the main DC universe that everything else is built upon, is a reflection upon, it goes out, but that change isn't always a one-for-one. We see this in a lot of things. I just actually finished reading Infinite Crisis again the other day. But we see this reflected in a lot of how the DC multiverse works. So yes, taking Krypton out and putting Planet Vegeta in had an effect, but that effect when we got to the Bombshells universe wasn't that Planet Vegeta of the Bombshells universe came in, because Kale and Khalifa aren't from that planet. They aren't from Planet Vegeta. They're from Planet Sadala. So putting Planet Vegeta in the main universe puts Saiyans in every universe, but it didn't necessarily take Krypton out of every universe. Was the big like ripple effect of that. And so Saiyans still exist in the universe with Kryptonians and Bombshells, which, you know, creates a very unique dynamic for them. Which is funny because Saiyans are busted on every planet and Kryptonians are only busted on certain planets.
Exactly.
Under certain suns. So that, like, part of me kind of wants to, but kind of doesn't want to, do what the hell the Saiyans and Kryptonians dynamic is like, especially because the Saiyans and from the Universe 7 originally are much more peaceful, and that's the version of Saiyans you got in Bombshells. So kind of makes me wonder what their dynamic is with different people. But that's big cosmic stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'll get to that eventually, hopefully.
Yeah. Magnetic, when did you guys start drafting this series? 2018?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. Yeah.
People have, like, I've seen people talk about this in the comments. People have started this series and graduated from high school.
Yeah.
In that time. So, I don't know. That's just interesting. What did we think of My Adventures with Kakarot? A fun one to see. I would like to see what Kakarot would look like in that art style.
Yeah, that would be a fun one. What's funny about that one is you've already got a series that is leading so heavily on anime and specifically Dragon Ball, so just putting Goku in it full hog, it kind of is like, well, at that point, is this just a Dragon Ball series? like it's.
Well,
very...
see, this is another example of the ripple effect of the multiverse. Is we put Kakarot, we put Planet Vegeta in the main DC universe, and so our universe down the line just has a Superman that's anime protagonist.
Exactly. There you go. That's just it's all connected, and it works out timeline wise from when we made it. Like it works. Right? You see, Kakarot Kent has a collar, and that's why Superman in the new movie has his collar back.
All the bitching you've done of the fucking legacy collar, and then right there, the you design.
It was me, all along. But yeah, so I would like my adventures with Kakarot would be fun. The interesting thing is trying to figure out like how much of it would go from DBDC versus what that series is, how many things you'd swap it in and out, like with Raditz be Supergirl in that version, and you could keep that the same, like what do you do about the Brainiac thing, what do you do about this, and this, because it's a very romance heavy focused series, and someone brought this up like, oh, where do you be with Lois Lane? It's like, I still don't think that would be the move. I think instead what would happen is you'd introduce Lady Shiva as a younger character who would have more of a role, maybe replacing the you'd swap Lois Lane and give her what they did with Vicky Vale, so that would be this version of Lois, and then the younger Lois in this would be a Lady Shiva who's maybe trying to learn her, like maybe she's still Cassandra Wusan, maybe she isn't Lady Shiva quite yet and she's trying to grow into that, but I think that's the direction they would go, rather than trying to force Lois and Kakarot together. If it would be a DBDC spin-off, I think they'd still want to like adapt versions from our series.
Ash, continuing on the universe question, so could the universe also be true, considering that the DB multiverse is built on twin universes, so could Universe 6 also be a universe of both Saiyans and Kryptonians? Yeah, that's potential. I'll be honest with you, that's not something we've thought that far ahead on the Superman in DB side of things. We haven't thought in that far ahead. I think we've only got Superman and DB plotted out to the King Piccolo arc.
Yeah. I've got some like rough ideas for stuff beyond that, but like it's still pretty early days on that, because I don't want to make the same trap I did with DBDC where like you plan like so far in advance before anything comes out. And with Dragon Ball as well, new stuff's still coming out a lot that you want to be able to see. Oh, with there's stuff from Daima maybe we want to incorporate, or things later on and stuff. So it's nice to have a little bit of like cap space before you start getting into like the Z stuff. But one thing I will say about that is the Dragon Ball multiverse is very loosely called multiverse. It's not really a multiverse. It's more like a bunch of different universes that aren't really connected to each other too much.
It's like multiple universes that occupy.
Yeah, like because if you think about it, like Future Trunks' timeline includes all of those universes, whereas in DC, a timeline is to one Earth can have multiple timelines. Like it's a lot bigger and more interconnected, and like you said, like ripples change things in DC. In Dragon Ball, it seems not so much until you get to stuff like Heroes, and even then it makes offshoots. It doesn't change the main stuff. So we'll see. I think it will be different now. It won't be the same as the DC multiverse, because that's just not how Dragon Ball's universes work.
Yeah,
they're a lot simpler.
Jake Smith, apparently Goku and Shiva are baby making now. Care to elaborate on their relationship status now that we have some context of their shared history and Cassandra's recent adoption? It's a situationship. Is I think what the kids are saying these days. It's like Alfie's been very cautious around the character, again because there's such like a muddy history. If there's any like really fair comparison or criticism of Dragon Ball, it's that it doesn't handle its female characters very well. So we wanted to be very respectful to Lady Shiva. We talked to Let's Talk Lady Shiva on Twitter to get some expertise and opinions on the character. And we've both grown to quite like her, so we want to be very careful with how to dance around her. And just realistically looking at how Shiva acts in the comics, she's not going to be anybody's typical love interest. And so we've been very cautious on her overall portrayal. So that being said, like their relationship dynamic is unique in superhero comics. The comparison I made for someone at one point, it might have been on one of these streams or it might have just been in Discord, was someone saying, "Well, I don't think the Justice League would be super cool with Kakarot dating a known assassin, and I don't think Kakarot would do that anyway." And I'm like, "Yeah, Kakarot definitely wouldn't be friends with a known assassin." And I just posted a picture of Hit.
I was gonna say, go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of like my thing is, if you wanted to try to understand elements of their relationship, is kind of just imagine that, you know, Hit and Goku started dating in mainline. Like everyone does the Goku with Vados or whatever, but no, it should be Hit. That's the fan art I need, damn it.
He literally does a booty call for Hit. Like that's the whole
know,
bit.
right?
There's a whole anime episode where he calls him up because he wants to fight him really bad. And then so that's just Lady Shiva, right? It's just their exact dynamic of you'd have an older character that's kind of cold to Goku at first, they'd meet, they'd fight, they'd have some other things, and then they call it a day and they don't have to see each other for years. But if they, you know, get the craving, call them up, you know, that's all it is. It's very like both of those characters live in the moment. Even on Kakarot's end, regular Goku would have never got married with anyone unless it was Chi-Chi, who was very like, oh, let's get married. Like she instigated that, and he's gonna go with the flow kind of guy. He likes her, like sure, why not? I'll do this, but he's never gonna suggest that. He's never gonna instigate those things.
Yeah. There's like a story I've wanted to tell, and I've batted around for whether or not it should just be like its own independent short story, or if we want to put it in like flashback episode in the future, and that is the idea of like the first date between them that I've played around with, which is Kakarot comes to Metropolis and he you know, introduces himself to Lois and Jimmy through circumstances that are still hilarious, and then he starts like fighting people in Metropolis, and that's kind of that relationship with Lois and Jimmy is where he gets the moniker the world's strongest. Is he's declared by Lois the world's strongest martial artist because he's doing, you know, these crazy feats of strength and stuff. And so the like idea I had was, well, Lex initially starts engaging with Kakarot by like funding and creating a lot of the Superman Rogues Gallery villains, and then just my idea was one of those adventures is he calls in Lady Shiva to come kill Goku, and at first she's like not very interested in it, but then he shows her the newspaper with the headline "The World's Strongest Martial Artist," and then she's like, that's not stand.
Yeah.
And that's their first interaction with each other, as where both of them are fully adult. Like in the flashback, Goku's like 14 or 15 and Shiva's like 18, but these are like both two full-on adults now, and this is their first interaction. And in my head it kind of goes very similar to the I'm gonna pull a reference here that it's not a subtle reference, but the fight with Zoro and Isabella in the Mask of Zorro movie, the sexiest fight scene of all time, is kind of in my mind how that fight goes. But you know, that'd be something that we'd have to like work out more on the page or something. But those are the general musings I've had of like what their first interaction is as adults. And I think it's cute. It's like I would call the fight either first date or meet cute. I'd call that story. So those are the ideas I've had for that dynamic. Has the last season of My Adventures with Superman given you guys any ideas?
No, but
I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah, I'm one episode. I haven't finished the finale yet, but I haven't got any ideas from that. It's funny. A lot of the stuff they do is stuff I was already like, oh, I was gonna do that. So like, it's kind of the opposite effect. If anything, it's kind of swayed me from doing certain things because I don't want to just be seen as ripping them off or whatever. But they're their own thing. It's a cute thing. But no, it doesn't have any influence.
Again, the disparity that exists between voice on video Alfie and talking about it in Discord or Twitter is so ridiculous. The void. These are two completely different people.
They all live.
I'm just gonna stop following you because you're so much more tolerable like this.
Oh wow!
It's not even funny.
Incredible.
Are you going to introduce other Dragon Ball characters? No. Was the Kakarot who giggles in Super Saiyan 5? He went to like Super Saiyan 100 in that episode. Like every time you see him, he's in a different form because he's cycling through the forms is the gag. I love that gag so much. I don't think that was in the script. I think initially we had him show up in like Super Saiyan 7 or some shit, and we just found like one cringy looking fan art to use, and then Alfie had the genius editor stroke to have him cycle through every fucking form, which is probably, I hate to say it, probably the funniest joke in that whole video, which is saying something. There's a lot of good ones, but that actually made me cackle laughing. Ash says, did you both always know that Batman would be Kakarot's trigger for Super Saiyan, and do you think that relationship between them was fleshed out enough to justify it? It's one of those things where, like, part of me, I do think it was fleshed out enough, but I do wish we had more time for having to get into the Saiyan Saga stuff, but it was just so necessary to grab people early on and show the Saiyan Saga. But I really do wish we could have spent more time showing, you know, their earlier adventures together and stuff. It's just one of those things where, you know, the YouTube format kind of holds the show back in some ways. But I do think that it was a so really well fleshed out relation.
Yeah, I have the same thoughts on that. Hold on, I believe Sid Part 2 has frozen. Oh no, it's just me. Oh no, it's just me. While we wait for him to, are you back?
I don't know. It was weird. Like, you were frozen for me, but then I was looking at the stream and I saw the cat and like, okay, so I'm the frozen one.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Very strange. You're back though. You're back. Okay.
Yeah. You were saying.
I was saying for the Batman thing is originally, so like if you want to hear what my original early, I don't know if I've said this on stream before, but my original earliest idea for Dragon Ball DC was that like it would be Goku would be friends with Jimmy Olsen, and then like during the events of like a planet battle they would get like teleported to Earth, and I don't know what villain it was specifically, it'd be like a doomsday type physical threat, right? And during that fight Jimmy Olsen would be killed by it, and then that's how that would turn into Super Saiyan. And that was the original shitty idea when I first had the concept for Goku in DC. But and he's gonna go Super Saiyan in that fight, and like he was gonna like, that was gonna be the end of the series, is he was gonna like die fighting that character or whatever, and he's just gonna die as like a Super Saiyan or whatever, so like a one-shot type deal. But the actual Batman of it all just kind of came naturally in terms of just like, we wanted to do Dick Grayson Batman, we like Damian, we like those characters, and like Bruce dying is something that facilitates that, and it's something that with Wally West as well as the Flash, is we like to be able to do the Dragon Ball thing of like showing the timeline progressing, and Batman dying is a good like, okay, this is the next jumping point into the next era of DC, so everything kind of coalesced for that. But I agree with Ian as well, in a perfect world we'd have had a little bit more time with them together, maybe like an adventure with them together, like pre-Saiyan Saga, where they like take down a world's finest type adventure would have been cool. To set all of that up, but it is what it is, and I think it works well in the series as is.
No, for sure. $4.99 donation from Super Michael 98. Could you name 3 alternate Gokus that would show up in a Crisis on Infinite Earths? Oh, that's a fun one. So this is like a fan art that someone did years ago. I don't even think they're in our Discord anymore, and it's like, we unleashed something that's like not quite Sonic the Hedgehog levels of people obsessing and creating their own ideas, but like we get moments like this where someone just hears Goku in DC and doesn't give a fuck about our series whatsoever. It's like, well, here's my idea for it. And I'm like, honestly, I kind of respect the hustle for it. So one guy one time posted a piece of fan art.
Oh no, it's cut out again. The Sid Part 2 internet is failing us, y'all. Oh dear.
I'll turn off video for a minute, maybe?
Yeah, go try your best.
Yeah, but someone posted this fan art of Goku raised on New Genesis by the New Gods, and he's just permanently in Super Saiyan God. And that's just such a cool idea to me that I'm like always kind of like trying to find a way to work into the series at some point. So there'd be one alternate Goku. What do you got?
For me, I think you do the every big crisis event needs to have the evil Earth, right? So you do the Crime Syndicate Goku, whatever he'd be called, like Talos or whatever. Like I think that would be fun. And then for another one, I'm just trying to think of like what cool big versions of those shots you do. I'll say DCAU Goku just because I did the art for that as well. The design works well, so and people like him like Batman Beyond and stuff turn up. So maybe it'd be like Batman Beyond era DCAU Goku, what he'd like old man Goku or something would be fun. So those would probably be my choices.
That makes me think, like, what would the duo of Batman and Kakarot even be called? World's Finest kind of doesn't hit when World's Strongest is already Goku's solo title, so what would you call them? What would their team name be, kind of thing? Their book. Because, I mean, World's Finest is actually getting pretty obscure at this point. I don't know, that's a good question.
Maybe you do, because you got the greatest detective and the world's strongest, right? So I'm trying to think if there's something between that.
Yeah. Chew on that one for a little while, keep going with other stuff?
Yeah, let me think on that one.
What comic lines are you mainly drawing from? There's a lot of Grant Morrison Batman. A lot of just Grant Morrison in general, because we're both big Morrison fanboys.
Yep.
Tom King's Batman is in there too a little bit. And a lot of Earth 1 Wonder Woman for a lot of her characterization. Jeff Johns era Flash for his Wally stuff. Jeff Johns era Green Lantern is obviously a huge one. There's a whole saga based on that. Yeah, just kind of pulling from a lot of different things.
Yeah, Bender Superman as well for some of the stuff. Scott Snyder's Justice League run for some of that big Justice League events. Kind of how they're written as a group and like the lineup used is from that run. Some smaller Superman stuff like Kurt Busiek's Superman run, where like Subject 17 comes from. For the Lex stuff, I lean a little bit of like a mix between what Morrison did, a little bit of the Luthor book, which Bermejo illustrated, Azzarello writing and stuff like that, and then probably a little bit of like he's on the Silver Age of like Elliot S. Maggin for some Lex Luthor characterization as well, and him not being completely devoid of emotion comes from the Maggin stuff, where he'd still have. He's not like a robot. He can still have things he cares about. It's just a very small, specific amount of things, and that's where like the Gohan like scenes have come from. So stuff like that all around, like Ian said, which kind of mix and matches by our faves that have kind of formed our own individual DC universe in our head. So it's kind of at a certain point, it kind of becomes impossible to separate what comes from what, because it's all kind of formed like a picture. At least for us, I think.
Yeah. The other big one I thought of as you were talking there was obviously pulled from Chuck Dixon's Joker's Last Laugh.
Yes.
In tribute to that. But like, again, we might use some of these ideas and some of these characters, but we always try to like take them in very much our own direction. So the Joker's Last Laugh episode is heavily inspired by the events of Last Laugh, to the point where like all these characters have been Jokerized, but goes completely in its own direction. It's about the Joker dying, but it's about the Joker, instead of like accepting his death, it's about the Joker arranging his death, and yada yada. Still, god damn, I fucking love that episode so much.
It was really good.
Yeah. Oh, he's left. He's tired of it. He's over it. Geek for fun is left. Oh, he's back.
Yeah,
he came crawling back.
Sorry about that. I just had to let the cat out. He was causing a ruckus.
Okay. Gohan SS2, if Kakarot dies against Broly, question mark. Again, asking about stuff that may or may not happen, so I'm not going to answer something like that, sorry. Will Kakarot and Vegeta become best buddies? I don't know, do you think they'll get to TFS best buddy level, Alfie?
I'm not quite sure. I think this Vegeta still has a lot more to work through before he can get to that point, but Kakarot would be happy to say that. I think the Kakarot would drop that, like, tomorrow.
The way that their dynamic changed and shifted after the tournament episode, where I got to like justify one of my favorite fucking things from the movies, which is Vegeta's being like, "No one kills you except for me," and it's just like, no. So now Vegeta's like literally like mama birding Kakarot is just like always around him when he's out in public because he doesn't want anyone else to kill this dude. It's just so sweet to me. I love their dynamic now. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Which, in your opinion, is superior, Theta State or Ultra Instinct?
Ultra Instinct.
That's a Superman thing, yeah?
Yeah, Ultra Instinct. The Theta State is like nothing. Like, I can speak. I've read basically every Superman comic ever made, and I don't know who decided to pick up that the Theta State was like this hyper thing that Superman would just whip out. It's like a cool Kryptonian like state of mind enhancer, but a lot of the stuff he does on panel when he's in that like mode is stuff he would do in other comics just normally, like without that. It's just he's already got the senses, he's already got the reaction time, he's got everything. If anything, it calms him down so you can focus more. But Ultra Instinct is an entire level. Because tell me something, do you think Superman with the Theta State is as interesting or as compelling than if Superman got Ultra Instinct? That answers the question of which is better for you, right? I mean, can you imagine that if Clark Kent got the ding, 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 like very, very different scenario. So no, Ultra Instinct. I like the Theta State, but it's not a comparison.
Ryan O'Neill says, so you're premiering the episode after the Q&A. The answer to that is no, but when is... I know people have been asking, when is the suspected date, since we are getting to the end of July?
The suspected date is it's going to be coming out on Patreon this month. This like before Wednesday, basically, if not on Wednesday. And then the release date might be either the following Friday or the following Saturday or something like that, but it's coming out this week on Patreon for sure. It's already, I'm just working on some of the art for it now. The actual video editing part of it is mostly done. It's just there's some cool art stuff in this that I don't want to rush.
Pikmin 5 Forever. Will we get time travel shenanigans with Wally West? I don't think we have anything planned for that, but that would be a fun area to play around in.
Yes.
Maybe one day. Yancey Ricks, what happened to Raditz and Nappa? No one knows. That's the mystery.
Yeah.
What would Batman's take on DBDCB overall? We saw a bit of what Mix thought in Doom 10. Well, I don't know if you're like trying to trigger me or if people literally just don't have the attention span to watch the episode until the end. It's not even a post-credit scene, Alfie. It's just like the episode ends and then like fades to black and fades into the thing. You see Batmite. I wore a Batmite costume for it. We did live action. It was adorable.
Yeah.
You want to know Batmite's opinion on it? Go watch the episode 10 again and you'll see Batmite. You guys are mean to me. I was sad.
You did it.
Uh, my brain's buzzing with Ash says my brain's buzzing with questions. Would you have any ideas for a different symbol for a Kingdom Come Kakarot, considering the significance of that symbol design in that story?
That's a cool idea.
That's an interesting one. Would the yin yang change drastically universe to universe?
Yeah, like how do you simplify that more? I guess it just becomes two dots at that point, with like a line through it instead of the curve. But I think you would still keep, and maybe it would be all right. You know what it would be? I'll say this directly: is it would be this outfit right here, but instead of it being the bright yellow with the bright blue that he has in the main line, it would be the Z orange with black instead of blue. So, and then this wouldn't be the yin yang. This would just be a straight line, and it would be the black of ink, and that would be Kingdom Come Kakarot. That I've just designed it. I've done it. Anyone in the Discord who wants to get a Kakarot render and make that edit, I will give you a rank up.
There you go. Like, I'm gonna go to the fan art section. There's gonna be a billion of them.
Yeah.
Which character was fun to write for? Larfleeze. Larfleeze is so much fucking fun to write for. It's not even funny how fun Larfleeze is to write for. We had to give him his own fucking show. It was so good.
For another answer that I love writing for Lex Luthor. I love writing. It's specifically Unleashed Luthor when he doesn't have to pretend to be a good man anymore, when he can just start throwing out insults at freedom. I love it. I love it.
Oh, it does hit really well. It is something else to see the guy to hear the voice actor that's like been doing such a good job of getting people to be like, I guess Lex really isn't a bad guy in this universe. Wow, it just could be like, you cave woman.
Yeah.
So dirty.
Spitting out every word. So good.
Oh, fun short would be Superman teaching Goku some Kryptonian martial arts. Okay, can I do a Superman rant right now? I know I'm not the Superman guy. The idea of Kryptonian martial arts has always been so fucking stupid to me. I goddamn hate every second of it. Every time I hear someone say it, I just roll my eyes. I hate the idea that Superman knows Kryptonian martial arts. I don't care what justification you have. It actually pisses me off.
For me, it doesn't make me angry, but I do think it's a thing where I tend to like, there's more tragedy when Superman doesn't know that much about Krypton. And if he knows enough to where he can like teach classes on martial arts schools, that's such a niche topic, right? I think you can get that type of thing. I'm fine if Zod knows it, like fully, and I'm fine if Kara knows a little bit. Like if Kara did classes on the weekends when she was at school, she knows like she had a kid's black belt or something, right? But like Zod,
she like took a self-defense course,
yeah,
you know?
Right. So that's fine, and maybe Clark can learn bits and pieces from them. But I don't think he should be the guy. I also don't think Superman in general is the guy who would be teaching Goku martial. I think Goku would be teaching him, like, and I'm the Superman guy, but like that's just not his forte. Like he doesn't. His brain is always so laser focused on protection and shielding people, whereas Goku's very much on how much can I inflict the most amount of damage. Clark would be like, oh, so this is how you restrain someone, and goes, I don't really want to know that. I want to know how to punch them harder. It's different levels. Superman never wants to learn how to hit someone harder. He wants to learn how to hit someone with less force.
Unfortunately, we got to pack up the series. It's all over. It's Jover.
Oh no.
Pikmin5 says Larfleeze SS2 if Kakarot dies. They've called it. They've called the ending of the Doom Saga. Yeah, fuck.
You've done it.
I didn't think anyone would see that one coming. God damn it.
You've got it. You've only gone and done it.
Yeah. Speaking of Lex, I feel like there's a little disconnect in this version since Kakarot doesn't completely fill that generic, completely superior being from the heavens General Lex had. So what really motivates that attitude?
I mean,
you'll have to watch the next episode and find out.
I can say a little bit about it, at least, just without going into it, is you're completely right. You're 100% right. There is no one to fill that void. And just like many Dragon Ball characters, when they don't have anything to do, they get really bored.
Come on, you're telling me Goku wouldn't want to learn new stuff? No, of course he would. I just don't like the idea of Superman knowing Kryptonian martial arts.
Yeah.
Every time I hear someone say it, it just boils my blood. Have you ever considered allowing Superman and Goku to be together in the beginning? If not, what got you started on the project?
No, for me, no. It was never a case of wanting them to interact, because in my mind, I wanted to see what they do with their universes, because a lot of the OG thing when people do crossovers with them is just those two crossing over in a fight with each other, right? It's been done. Death Battle's done another Superman and Goku thing, and like people have done plenty of animations. Yeah, 3 of them. People have done a lot.
Imagine going 0 for 3.
It's insane. They go for a lot of interactions with them specifically, and I still have a lot of ideas of what I would do with that, but I think it's still pretty explored ground, and there's more that just interested me of just like, well, what would they do in each other's shoes? What can you learn about each character that maybe you took for granted before by seeing what they do living in the other person's life? Like, what would that show you about them? What would that teach you about them? And I always felt I was in a pretty unique position to do that, because there's very few Dragon Ball and Superman fans that like both equally while still being pretty well read on it. It's becoming more and more, and the guy right here is one of them as well, but it's very few and far between where you'll have people who can name the top of their head Dragon Ball characters and Dragon Ball lore and Toriyama quotes, and also Elliot S. Mackin quotes, Siegel and Schuster quotes. Like it's you don't see that a lot, so I thought I was in a good position to do that.
Yeah. I like this one from Keep Talking. DBDC, what if Kakarot was Batman would be funny. I not a huge fan of the DCAU. I've like really become pretty scathing of it in recent years, but there were just some episodes that just out of the fucking park, and the idea of doing a nighttime episode but with Goku is really funny to me. And going back to talking about that, like, what if, you know, we got more time to just show Batman and Goku adventures together? And I wouldn't go like, you know, for a 1-to-1 of the episode, but just the premise of Goku has to pretend to be Batman is such a fucking funny idea to me. I absolutely love it. Someone suggested a couple weeks ago, and it really got me laughing thinking about, was did Goku ever get like a Batmobile equivalent? Because, like, you know, Superman had like the super rocket or whatever, and I'm like, you know, it would be such a good little story that Jenny just buys him a fucking rocket jet engine car. He doesn't know, and that's the DVDC version of the driving episode. Is Kakarot trying to learn to drive that fucking thing? I just love it so much.
I like that one too.
Yeah. Goku would just sniff out the baddies. Yeah. Hey, it's me, Batman.
The biggest thing they're gonna have to do is they've never had a Batman quite that short, so like they're gonna have to. They're gonna
just gotta float like high enough so that the boots stay looking like they're on the ground.
He has like the Kelly Jones ears to match the hair.
Yeah. He's got like the big cloak so you can't tell that he's just flying the whole time. Man, I don't know what the premise would be. I would have to spend a lot of time thinking about it, because just to get Goku to put on the frickin' cowl would be such a bother, but it'd just be so good. How did you get Moscow X to voice Gohan? I remember being surprised to find that out.
I asked him in person. I went to a con in the UK and Masako was there. I showed him a photo of DBDC Goku. I had, would you want to be into this? He was like, sure. He gave me his contact information, and he's been a great sport about it ever since.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Is Goku 5'9"? How tall is Bruce? Goku's like, what, 5'7"?
Goku's 5'8".
5'8", and then Bruce is like at least 6'2", 6'3", up.
6'2" consistently, depending on the version. You get Dark Knight Returns where he's like 6'7" or something.
Yeah.
So it depends. The new Absolute Batman where he's 7 foot. Like...
Christ. How much longer can Dick last as Batman? Asks Synclap. Forever, honestly.
Yeah.
You saw the art of Bruce in the Nightwing costume, right?
I did.
You saw that. Man, I respect Dick going off on his own and becoming Nightwing, but the idea that like that is just as valid or just as important an identity, and he doesn't need Batman, he doesn't need to become Batman, just is the most backwards, we just got to maintain the status quo shit ever. As much as I miss Bruce and getting to have his dynamics and him and writing him, it is so cool to be able to just write Dick Grayson just is Batman, and there's no looming of Bruce taking the mantle back or having to do anything like that. There's something just so freeing about, no, Dick's just Batman now. And honestly, I'm like kind of annoyed at us because I feel like we could have done a better job and given him more to do. Since you did Bombshells, will we see any other alternate universes? Probably not within like the same context as Bombshells, because as much as I love that series, unfortunately it just did not do very well. The main episodes aren't doing well enough to like discuss spin-offs in that same context again. So it's unfortunate, but you know, maybe get the movie cut of Bombshells up to a couple 100,000 views, and I can make Alfie change his mind.
There you go.
Bombshells 2.
Exactly.
Haha, it was a trick. Any favorite DB fan forms, says Ash? Just as long as we're not talking about that Super Saiyan Magic one. I fucking hated that form. That was so shit. I don't know. Other favorite fan forms. I don't know. Like, I like the idea that everyone has their favorite fan form, but rarely do I think they actually get the idea of what a Super Saiyan form should be or should do. I'll be controversial. I like that they did. I like when Multiverse did the fifth form King Cold. I thought that actually looked kind of cool, and I liked what it was for its purpose of getting defeated to hype up another character. I thought that was fun. And I like the look of it as like that big scary final boss kind of thing, and then the final boss got defeated because the player did all the side quests first. I thought that was pretty cool.
For me, I'm still sweet on Super Saiyan 5. I still think it has its place. I think it's so stupid, but it's been here for so long. It's been here for so long compared to other Dragon Ball forms that it kind of feels like that's the original, the iconic one. And I do like I think there's a way to make that look work of like a Super Saiyan 4, that if that's a new base form, like what does that look like when it turns Super Saiyan? I think is kind of an interesting question. I'm not sure if it looks like that specifically, but hey, you know, it's fun. I'm always down for Super Saiyan 5. So that would be my answer. Outside of that, I really liked when Dragon Ball Multiverse did the Goku and Vegeta kind of make their own version of Ultimate, because Gohan did, and Ian's laughing because he always uses the meme, and it's never funny. It's
always hilarious.
It's never funny.
Always funny. It is the funniest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I am a hilarious motherfucker, so that's really saying something. Because, yeah, just that meme of Goku and Vegeta turning Ultimate, and It's like, nothing's changed. Everything's changed. Just every time I see some fucking Spider-Man fan talking about, like, oh, his arms are too red. The red's going past his elbow. I don't like it. I'm like, literally nothing's changed. No one with, like, any level of sanity or lack of autism can tell what the fuck is going on that is different, that bothers you so heavily, that you have to make, like, a 7-hour Twitter rant thread about it. Fucking hate that shit.
Like I said, it's never funny, but we'll let him have it. We'll let him have this.
Man, I'm sorry, but it's true. It's true, you know. Like that. What's funny, again, I don't really read Multiverse. The pages get posted and circulated every so often, so I catch different things. But just seeing that reaction, just immediately I knew I'm gonna use this so much.
It's a good
I'm
reaction,
gonna be so obnoxious. Yes, Weirdo 78. Me looking at two Sonic models, I cannot see the difference. Absolutely. This modern Sonic design really needs these tweaks. Just post the same fucking image. I'll go back and forth 7 times before I can see the difference. And it's like, oh, we moved Sonic's eyes slightly to the left.
Look, it's not my fault that y'all can't appreciate details. You're just uncreative. Like, that's all I know what to say.
Which version of Darkseid inspired your Darkseid? It's mainly Morrison. Like, I'm controversial with this. I know Alfie doesn't like me for this. I don't really care for Kirby's Darkseid. I think there's like some fucking dope-ass lines. But a lot of people will say that the only people who know how to write the New Gods are Morrison and Kirby. And I'm like, yeah, you can get rid of that second name. I don't like anything I read with the New Gods outside of Morrison 9 times out of 10. And, you know, Tom King being the exception at this point. And even then, that's like a very particular take for a very particular version of them that's heavily inspired by Morrison. So, you know, what can you do with that? I'm sorry, the Kirby stands, I really, like, I appreciate and respect the creativity, but the actual reading the issue to issue, I do not like the way Kirby writes the New Gods.
I like how Kirby writes the New Gods, but I also like Morrison as well. I like King as well, and I'm very excited to see what Ram V does in the New Gods book that's coming out. So I think all of that is thumbs up from me. Glad to see him getting more stuff.
Yeah. Oh, Ian, that's such a shit take. Which one?
You've listed off a few, so.
Yeah. I'm trying to get that engagement up. I'm trying to be controversial. What else can I say? It was ketchup. We need to get the Dragon Ball DC Abridged crew to make a DVD. No, the Dragon Ball Abridged crew to make a DBDC Abridged episode, like for April Fools or something. Yeah, that's the thing that's gonna bring them back to some more TV.
Yeah. They're like, you know what? We didn't want to do BoJack, but we'll do this. Because they're such big Superman fans as well. They love him. They love that character.
Yeah, they love Superman and comics in general. What are your thoughts on the Absolute Universe? I've not been excited by anything I've seen. Personally, I'm really far out of comics, unfortunately, but I'm getting back a little bit. Been reading some older stuff lately. I'm really far out of comics lately, but just all the stuff I'm seeing. Can I just rant for a sec? I'm at the point where I don't actually care about the quality of your story. If you do a Green Lantern book and you introduce a new human Green Lantern, I don't care anymore. I'm so bored of it. Like, and I like all of them except for Simon and Guy, but those are like character-specific reasons. But it's just the same trick over and over again, and there's just too many human GLs at this point that it just actively annoys me to see a new human GL introduced, unless you start like killing off some of the old ones. I think you kind of share my opinion on this with like Spider People in the mainline universe. Yeah, where I'm just like, I don't care how good they are. There's too fucking many of them.
It's just, when did this become a thing?
Yeah.
Very great.
Yeah, so that's just kind of like my thing. Scott Snyder on Batman, I think, has been the biggest detriment to the character for this generation, and probably just explains all of the problems of the 2010s onward. I think generationally, we can just blame every problem that's happened since 2010 on Scott Snyder's Batman. So the idea of doing more Scott Snyder Batman just does not interest me in the slightest. I don't even know what the Superman pitch is. So yeah.
What do you think? Just in general, what do you think of the idea of the mainline DC universe being Superman's universe, and then there existing a universe that's like Darkseid flavor universe? Do you think that's an interesting idea or not?
I don't hate that on principle, I guess. I don't know. Immediately, my thought is this a universe that Darkseid has already conquered, and now he's moving on to another, or what's the deal?
We don't know, but we know it's like it is created because of Darkseid specifically.
Yeah.
And my next question is, what is your pitch for Absolute Kakarot then, if it's a Darkseid version of Kakarot?
See, that's hard, because we were talking about Sai earlier, and I didn't get around to it, but I was kind of thinking, man, what would Kakarot in that, like, Vegeta's place on Apocalypse, what would that be? Because that's really interesting to think about. So just what do you do with Apocalypse Kakarot? Because Goku's not an unbreakable person if you get him young. He's a very, like, moldable individual. And, you know, if you do the non-head drop version or you do the head drop version, you know, what do you do with this? Is Goku just going to turn into more of like a scot-free kind of person, or could there ever be a corrupted version of Goku? It's a hard one to kind of settle on.
It's just interesting. When that book comes out, and we know the actual brass tacks of the universe, we'll see if there's anything engaging in it that maybe is worth bringing up. Because I still like, one of my favorite things is when we adapt something and we say it's from a comic, and then we hear that someone actually went and read that comic. I like being able to do that. So I always like to keep my eyes open for stuff like that.
Yeah. Shook says, yeah, because Rotlop fan is such a good GL. Yes, he actually is, though. Like, he's cool. I made a whole audio drama about him. Go check it out on my channel.
He is cool. I don't know what Shook was cooking with. There's plenty of lame ones you could have picked, but he is one of the cool ones.
Like, why pick one of the actually good ones? Like, there's plenty of lame ones. Could have picked Nort, you know? Like, get on the level. Like, that's my problem with it, though. Like, it's not that the human characters aren't good. They are. Jessica Cruz is a great character. It's just the fact that we've got so many human ones and none of them are dying, and the whole thing was it's a ring that gets passed down from one character to another as they die. Green Lantern, arguably, is the only major superhero property that is truly a mantle. But the problem is we're not sticking with the premise of actually running with the mantle. I love Kyle Rayner, but kill him or let him go be a White Lantern. Him wearing the green ring, fucking trash. Again, Kyle should not be a Green Lantern anymore. Guy Gardner went off and became a Red Lantern for a while. That's a good place. If you want to keep the character around, that's fine, but don't keep him as a Green Lantern. That's just stagnation. That's the problem I have. Like, Shook says, let's kill off Hal. Yeah, let's kill off Hal.
We did it before.
I like John's run. I love John's run. But that is a criticism of it, that, like, technically you didn't really need Hal for this. This could have continued to be Kyle's story. This could have been anybody's story. It didn't have to stick with Hal. It's just Jeff Johns really likes putting his toys back together. And yeah, I'm perfectly okay if Hal Jordan died in the next issue of Green Lantern tomorrow and we just went with and kept running with a new GL and not going back to the same well over and over and over again. I'd be happy. Or if you're going to do it, like, what's weird about the absolute pitch to me is we just got another human GL, and I really like Jo. She's cool. I loved Far Sector. But now we've got another human female black GL. Why? Like, it's just, but you've already got the character to run with and do this with. What are you adding to the conversation here? It's just laziness, not wanting to like write an existing character and create your own original character. That's lazy writing to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because every other version of the absolute character is a new version of like one of the original. Like you got Wally, you got Bruce. Like it's still it's a very different Bruce, but it's still called Bruce. So we don't know this character's name, so maybe they'll just be like, "Hey, I'm Hal, but I'm a black woman now," so it could be that. But it's probably going to be a new character, because it's a lot of the talks have been talking about it as like a mantle. So I don't know as well. It's strange. It's a strange choice.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll like be granting my wish, and all the human GLs are going to die out, and this girl's going to take over. I'm fine with that. I honestly am. But I'm tired of just repeating that same plot beat. Because, I mean, again, like, name them off, right? You've got Hal, John, Guy, Kyle, Jessica, Simon. There's your official human ones. Joe, too. Sorry, I forgot about Joe. So 7 human GLs all operating at the same time. And then you've got Alan Scott and Jade, who are effectively Green Lanterns anyway, all operating on the same time, and now we're getting a new one. 10. At this point, the fucking Earth is just going to be the Green Lantern Corps.
You could make a whole Justice League roster of just Green Lanterns.
Right? Like, that's crazy. Not even lanterns. Green Lanterns.
Yeah, human Green Lanterns, and there's your new Justice League.
Like, remember we reviewed the fucking, the controversial ass Green Lantern book where it was like, oh, all the Green Lanterns are on Earth now. And it's like, yeah, but that's just that book now. That's just what that is.
All right, do you want to do like 3 more questions and then call it?
Sure. Who is the strongest Justice League member, including Kakarot at his prime and Vegeta? Okay. I mean, I guess it's Kakarot.
It's Kakarot at his prime, if we're counting.
Yeah, at his prime, if he didn't have the heart virus thing, he would be just able to outclass everyone, because, like, we make a point of it that he does the tournament and he comes at a draw with the Justice League on the whole, but, like, he's also fighting them to differing degrees at their thing, and he still manages to draw with most of them. They're not all just straight fighting. So that's a very particular thing. So yeah, it is just Kakarot at this point, but Wonder Woman is very close behind.
Yeah, and Vegeta would be behind Wonder Woman.
How would you describe Lois Lane's and Kakarot Kent's relationship? She seemed really worried about him in the last episode of Dragon Ball DC, and it got me thinking if they'd been together once. You want to take that one?
She's just the best friend. She says it in the episode as well. It's just like, she really likes him. She has the same relationship to him as like Bulma would with Goku in the mainline canon, in terms of just like almost like an older sister type figure. And it's on my fault for not showing more of that and not having more of that thing. It's just
same thing as what we were talking about with Batman. The views demanded. And I mean, like, this is kind of shown out with the Doom Saga, where, like, there's so much cool hype stuff happening in the Doom Saga, but we also decided we were at a place where we could take a step back, slow down a little bit, and really let these characters breathe. And that, with the hiatuses, has actually contributed to a major downturn in views, unfortunately. But we'd already written the scripts, we'd already had the lines, so there's really no choice but to just go through it. So, you know, it's been a learning experience, and it's just that the YouTube model is not the best thing. I've been kind of tempted. I want to do more short stories to just post, like, on their own and not worry about turning them into videos, or if they are videos, it would just be a single image with narration. And I don't know if, like, that would be something we'd have to talk about more, but that's something I've definitely thought about, because it'd be an easier way to get content and flesh out the verse a little bit more and have more fun. No voice acting or anything, just one of us reading it or something, kind of things. So we'll see.
Another aspect of that is like a lot of people just start Dragon Ball Z when they were kids as just Dragon Ball Z, and people manage to get Goku and Bulma's dynamic from just that. Even if you look at their scenes together in Dragon Ball Z, they don't really interact much throughout that entire series, but people get, oh, this is how Goku and Bulma interact. So Lois, give the credits for that, as well as we've got about as much of a emotional scene in that one episode as Bulma and Goku have in the entirety of Dragon Ball Z. So just work with the context clues and try your best.
Yeah. Well, you guys have TikTok now. There's an audience for short stories like that. I'm not turning a story into a 2-minute fucking TikTok where I've got to like do a dance at the same time as fucking Flappy Bird is playing in order to keep people's attention.
Yeah. We do have that now, so maybe if it was a situation where we did one of those, we could cut it up into 2-minute chunks of a larger episode that people do seem to like stuff like that. But like Ian said, it's I'm having a member of a Discord server, Shook, help me with the TikTok stuff, because even though I'm younger, I'm also completely unaware of how that works, and I don't want to be doing the Flappy Bird dance myself. So we'll see how that goes, but it's a possibility.
Almancer says, love your work, just got back from a long road trip and your stories made that trip less boring.
Oh, that's awesome.
That needs to go on like the DBDC DVD release. It made this less boring.
There you go. I want that Wadlow.
Yeah. I feel like we might have answered this before, but what's your favorite scrapped ideas for y'all's DC universe? Oh, there's one I can't talk about. I talked about it in the Discord and people actually got mad at me. So I don't want to talk about it on a stream where there's less chance to like give context. I don't know, scrapped ideas. We've found a way to make a lot of things work here.
It's less scrapped ideas and more like ideas we haven't gotten to.
Yeah. What would you change if you could redo DBDC? The biggest change I think we'd make is to the Entity Saga. I think, Alfie, you've said that you don't really like the idea of Rogolzar anymore and you'd want to change that to a different character.
It's something where it worked really well at the time, but it's one that's just going to keep aging poorly because that character is such of that very specific period in time and doesn't really go anywhere. It's not an iconic like DC character. And if we could have it do it all from the beginning, I would like to keep it as timeless, kind of like, I'm thinking in the same way that All-Star Superman is always going to be timeless, Batman Hush is always going to be like, these are the iconic characters, we're dealing with the big names only, kind of, and we have the smaller names sprinkled in, but the big events should be big name characters, so it would probably change to a more iconic DC villain. That's one we haven't gotten to, or that we could have slotted in there instead, would probably remove.
Yeah. The other one, and this is like still, I think, my biggest regret about just the way things timelined out for having to produce episodes, especially given the gaps between episodes and what they became, was I really, really wish we'd had Cass quote Star Wars in her first appearance. She doesn't do it until the White House episode. And that's like my biggest regret is we made that such a big part of her character as we were writing the series. But we'd had to like send out lines for the first 3 episodes before we'd finished writing the entirety of the Doom Saga. And so we hadn't gotten to that character trait for her. And that was like one thing, like if I could change anything about the Doom Saga, it would be that, as I would have her do a Star Wars, or more specifically a Vader quote in the very first episode she appears in. That is the biggest thing missing in my mind from the Doom Saga.
Yeah. Well, I think that covers pretty much everything, unless there's anything quick you want to get to.
No, I think that got through a lot of things.
Okay.
So this was fun. I really enjoyed doing this. This became a great way to spend my afternoons. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Alfie.
No problem. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully we can do some more of these more regularly as well, as this is a good kind of like jumping back in point. And it seems that we got a lot more comments than I was expecting from people, so I'm very glad that.
Yeah,
we're that
I think
engaged.
we're up to like almost 30 or 40 people at one point in the stream. So yeah.
Alright, y'all, I hope you all enjoyed. Excited for the Doom Saga finale and the future projects. We'll keep you updated. If you want to get more updates, go to our Discord, which is plenty of links for those that have been in the videos prior, and if anyone in the server wants to throw a link in the live chat now, go for it. But if you want to keep more updated than that, follow our social media feeds, keep the YouTube posts, and just rewatch the videos and like them, share them with your friends, it helps a lot. As always, have fun.